Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rukar, Pradash, and double honor to the apostles of the great millstone, and as well as giving the salutations thereof towards the Akim, forwarding this truth worldwide, and shalom to the Akim or Akwafiyam on the side, most importantly heeding to what we're saying. And once again, it's your brother Laban coming at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be going over two topics. First and foremost, this topic over here concerning the University of Cambridge teacher, which he wants to bring awareness to his students and probably as much people as possible of the awareness of a nuclear winter. And as this article will explain, it goes into all of it, what that is. So it reads, public awareness of nuclear winter too low given current risk, argues expert. And as you can see, I'm on the Cambridge academia.co.uk, if I'm correct in saying that. So yeah, here goes. It reads, surveys study awareness in the UK and US populations also shows that brief exposure to latest data on a nuclear winter deepens doubts over nuclear retaliation. There is a lack of awareness among UK and US populations of nuclear winter, the potential for a catastrophic long-term environmental consequence from any exchange of nuclear warheads. This is according to the research behind new polling conducted last month and released today by the University of Cambridge Center for the Study of Existential Risk. Paul Ingram, CSER Senior Research Associate, says that despite risk of a nuclear exchange being at their highest for 40 years due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, what little awareness there is of nuclear winter among the public is mainly residential from the Cold War era. The scientific theory of nuclear winter sees detonations from nuclear exchange throw vast amount of debris into the stratosphere, which ultimately blocks out much of the sun for up to a decade. And the first part that I want to deal with is him going into how there's a low volume of people, which I'll jump down to this right here just to get to the point. So it reads, contemporary media or culture, of which 3.2 in the UK and 7.5% in the US said they had. Recent academic studies, of which 1.6% in the UK, 5.2% in the US claimed they had. Beliefs held during the 1980s, of which 5.4% in the UK and 9% in the US said they had heard of or still recalled. So that's still, low numbers right there of people not being aware of, the idea of a nuclear winter, which, for the most part, most people are unaware how near and dear to war we really are, in this time that we're living in, period, to let alone know about the idea of a nuclear winter, which goes into the scripture. And what I'll do is I'll read this part of the article because there's a point that I just wanted to cover, as my mind wanted to cover, so I just jumped down. So what I'll do is I'll go back up and read this again, but I just want to pull the scripture out. This is 2 Peter 3, verse 10. A new heavens and a new earth, right? So it reads, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. So there you have it. The first couple of sentences that the Lord, or should I say the day of the Lord, will come as a thief in the night, because the people are not really aware how close we are to a nuclear war. Now, people are aware of things going on around the world, especially this whole Ukrainian thing, which the media has been blowing up for some time now. So people are kind of scared. But what people don't know still is that the war is near. And because they don't know, when it comes to them, it's going to become suddenly. But to the men of the Lord, and obviously those that are watching, all right, on the side that support the men of the Lord, it ain't going to overtake us as a thief. It's just we gonna know that it's coming because we're gonna have our eyes on it. watching for the prophecies to come to pass. So now let me go down here and read this again. So yeah, let me read this part of the article over here. It says the scientific theory of nuclear winter sees detonation from nuclear exchange throws vast amount of debris into the stratosphere, which ultimately blocks out much of the sun for up to a decade, causing global drops in temperature, mass crops and failures, and widespread famine. And according to the book of Isaiah 34, which speaks on how the smoke will not be quenched night nor day. So it reads, it shall not be quenched night nor day, and the smoke thereof shall go up forever, and from generation to generation, and it shall lie waste, and none shall pass through it forever and ever. So America, which is this is what it's talking about, which is Babylon the Great, which you have decent amount of Christians that claim to be scholars coming around this fact, which they really got that from us, because we've been shouting that out for the longest time. All right, but it's going to be a dark region of the world, man. America, when the smoke is, when that place is destroyed the way it's going to get destroyed, all manner of smoke is going to be lifted up to the skies, and it's going to block out the sun. All right, but that's going to happen anyway, even in the middle times of when this war is happening, when you're going to have these nations shooting their missiles at each other, as it is written that the Lord have created those wasters to destroy. So when those wasters do what they do, hey man, when you think all of that debris is going to go, it's going to go up to the heavens, and it's going to block out the sun. That's why it's going to be a dark day. That's why it goes into it goes into that in the book of Zephaniah, as the prophet saw in the vision. And this is all we do at Great Millstone. All we do is go into the prophecies, man. We'll speak on the gospels and history and all of that, but primarily this is what we do best. If you ain't prophesying, you ain't saying nothing. All right, inside joke. This is Zephaniah 1 and verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and it hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble, a day of and distress, and a day of wasteness and desolation, and a day of darkness and gloominess, and a day of clouds and thick darkness. So that's what's going to be the case. It's going to be a dark period of time, extremely dark. Yeah, it's symbolically speaking on that, but it's going to be literal at the same time. So this is what the public are unaware of, man. Now, like I said, people are aware of the possibility of a war that could actually happen, because the media is, playing it over and over again. And people still do have TVs at their house, and they watch TV like crazy, especially nowadays, because they scared, or for the most part have no choice but to really, listen to what the news is telling them. Even though you have a lot of people that don't like to see the news because they don't want to get depressed. Like I was out with the brothers at the bid camp, just for a short period of time, maybe like an hour, maybe another hour. And, this young woman comes up saying that, she doesn't really want to think about, I'm roughly paraphrasing what she said anyway, but she said, cause, the brother was going into, the destruction of America, right? And he, usually posts up with the sign on it, right? So then, the elder asked her, like, what do you think about the picture that we have of America's destruction? So she said, well, America's a popular country, and I don't really want to think about that because it brings distress to me. And that's the mindset of a lot of people. People don't want to deal with the destruction that's coming down the pike, because in all reality, like the brother was going into as well, basically this world is what the people only but see. They don't see anything else. People have dreams and aspirations to be something. It's all to do with this world. It ain't got nothing to do with no other world. This is all people know. So when that's being told to the people of what we're saying, and as well as what they're hearing on the news, that your world can come crashing down, yeah, people gonna be depressed, because people got visions of what they want to accomplish in the world, and they still have hope in the world, period. All right. And they don't have hope in the world because obviously, for no other reasons but because they want to see themselves become something someday. Vanity is what it's all about, when it comes to these people and what they want to accomplish. But really, the Lord is going to fulfill his words here on this earth, and the men of the Lord are advocates for that. And that's what we want at the end of the day. The people don't want destruction. We want it to come. So now let me continue to read on with this. So it reads, the latest survey, I'm going to read this again. The latest survey conducted online in January 2023 asked 3,000 participants, half in the UK, half in the US. Matter of fact, I don't have to read this again. Let me just go all the way down here. Yeah, this is it right here. The idea of nuclear winter are predominantly, excuse me, let me read this again, man. The ideas of nuclear winter are predominantly a lingering cultural memory, as if it is the stuff of history, rather than a horrible contemporary. That's the tongue twister right there. Contemporary risk. Of course, it is distressing to consider large-scale catastrophes, but decisions need to account for all potential consequences to minimize the risk, said Ingram. Any stability within nuclear deterrence is undermined if it is based on decisions that are ignorant of the worst consequences of using nuclear weapons. And I mean, let's just say if people already knew about this, them knowing about if there's going to be a nuclear winter or not, they're not going to be able to stop a thing. The average person is just the average person. They don't have any power. The only people that can stop this from happening is really the angels. I said people, but the only entities, powers, should I say, the only powers that can stop this from happening, it's not your government. All right, it ain't got nothing to do with your politicians. It ain't got nothing to do with the people that control the politicians. It has every little thing to do with the powers that we don't see, which are the angels of the Lord, which are controlling the souls of men, operating his will of the Heavenly Father himself. That's what it's all about. So even if people knew the knowledge, it wouldn't change a thing at all. Okay? And the people are just pathetic, man. All people can do in this stage of the game is put up these stupid placards thinking that that's going to bring changes, and that ain't going to do nothing, man. All right? That's not doing a goddamn thing. Inside joke. So, yeah, so now let's move forward. Let me move forward with this right here. Let's get the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 30. And I will show wonders in the heavens, and the earth, blood and fires and pillars of smoke. And the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood. And that's what we're getting. We're getting what you call eclipses and red moons before the great and terrible day of the Lord come, which is symbolic of that when we see those signs and those wonders. Okay. Let me read the last verse. And it shall come to pass that and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered, for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. So you better hope that you're an Israelite, because this is very telling over here that the Lord ain't going to deliver and save all people. He's coming to save and deliver Zion, which is another term used for the nation of Israel, which are the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians today, currently called. But in the ancient world, they were known as the Israelites. These are the people that are going to be delivered. They of the elect, they that have the Father's names written in his forehead. And you have to know the name of the Lord, Nate. Okay, because for the most part, man, Nate for the longest has been putting the name behind his back and not really proclaiming that name. And as well as his followers too. All right. So if them guys don't get it together, man, they're going to be barbecued out here. Zephaniah, let's go back and read this again. Let me read some more of this. So this is Zephaniah 1 and verse 16. A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh is the dung. And this doesn't just include Jake that don't know the truth at all. This also includes those that know the truth, which they're even worse than those that never knew the truth. As it is written that they that knew the Father's will and chose not to do his will shall be beaten with more stripes. I'm roughly paraphrasing the scripture, but you know what I'm talking about. All right. That's why it also reads in the book of 1 Peter, the 4th chapter, that the Lord will begin with his own house first. And for the most part, it's those that know they're Israelites. So he's going to sort them out, and eventually, and then the Lord is going to judge those outside of his house. But he's going to begin with his house, which includes the men that know they're Israelites. All right, that's not teaching the 100% truth as they know it to be. So now let's get another precept here. Actually, I read that already. So now what I also want to get into is this. I want to get into this topic over here. And this is the reason why the media right now is talking about how, they shot down an unidentified flying object in the air, and they shot a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like all of that is really just to distract you from what the real news should be seen among the public is this Nord Stream situation. Because we find out this individual here, what's his name, man? His name is Seymour Hersh. Seymour Hersh, I believe it is, right? And he found out, as we all kind of knew in the back of our minds to a degree that America has something to do with this anyway. But it's fully revealed and evident that that's the case, that America has something to do with this Nord Stream pipeline. 1 and 2. So as this reads, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Seymour Hersh in a fresh interview with the Germany's Berliner Zeitung, if I'm pronouncing that correct, newspaper, which follows up on his bombshell reporting how America took out the Nord Stream pipeline, has provided more context to Biden White House decision making behind the brazen high risk cover up. All right, I'll be right back. The president of the U.S. would rather see Germany's freeze than see Germany possibly stop supporting Ukraine, Hersh asserted. So it reads, he explained that in reality, the Ukraine conflict was not going well for the West, and that it's important to remember that Stream 2 was put on hold by Germany itself, not international sanctions, and the U.S. was afraid Germany would lift sanctions because of a cold winter. That's when the legendary investigative journalist emphasized, the point is that Biden has decided to let the Germans freeze this winter. The president of the U.S. would rather see Germany freeze than see Germany's possibly stop supporting Ukraine. Hersh has also, in a fresh update to his Substack, teased that more details are coming based on his sources. He said, we are only on the first base writing that there may be more to learn about Joe Biden's decision to prevent the German government from having a second thought about the lack of cheap gas this winter. In the meantime, Russia says it is preparing to convene a special meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss the case of the Nord Stream sabotage. The Russian mission to the UN said on Wednesday it is planning this meeting for February the 22nd, and it comes after Moscow has demanded answer from the Biden administration related to allegations and reporting revealed by Hersh, while so far the mainstream media has by and large been completely silent on Hersh's findings. Reuters has blatantly acknowledged it as the following on Wednesday. U.S. investigative journalist Seymour Hersh wrote in a blog that an attack on the Russian-operated pipelines under the Baltic Sea was carried out last September at the direction of the U.S. President Joe Biden. The White House has dismissed the report as utterly false and complete fiction. Let me read some more, just a little bit more. And yet, previously, top U.S. officials have in so many words openly admitted that they welcome the news of the Nord Stream pipeline explosion's recent statements, such as in following Senate testimony by under the Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, are quite revealing. So, basically a lot points to a possible fact or a fact that America had something to do with that. And this is why they're blowing out false narratives and about some UFO or a couple of UFOs they done shot down. It's to really get you away from this kind of news right here, which is very important, because this really explains that America is not the good guy. America is not trying to prevent a war. They're trying to cause more problems down in Ukraine among their allies, and as well as Germany is a part of NATO, I believe, if I'm correct on that. And if this is the case, then Germany is going to have to make a decision whether they're going to stay with NATO or not. And it's also making America look very shady overall among their allies, which is the European Union. And this is why in the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter, it also reads that the European Union, which is known as the 10 horns in the scriptures, which are the 10 horns in the scriptures, which represents the original 10 countries that formulated this whole European Union thing. And then afterwards, you had more countries that came thereafter. All right. So this is Revelations 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, and these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So the allies of America, which is the European nations, are going to basically put America on the fire by sending nukes towards there, by striking America with their nukes. This is the prophecy as it is written. For the Most High put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High should be fulfilled. So there you go. Which the beast encompasses in this whole entire system. Which the beast just represents NATO, the whole entire Western system overall. But there's a part of the beast system, which is the EU. And the EU is going to turn against America. That's what all of this is talking about. So you're going to have what? A division. Like as what Yahushua put towards the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said, how can Satan cast out Satan and the house be divided against itself? If the house be divided against itself, it cannot stand. So that's the situation we're in. We're in a situation where Esau is getting ready to be divided, or have already been divided, and they're about to demonstrate that from a carnal setting by using the sword. All right. Like I like to say, and I haven't said this in some time, but the blessing that was given unto Esau is going to turn into a curse. As what is also written, he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. Okay. I'm roughly paraphrasing that. So that's pretty much all I have to say on this right here. I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua Bashmi Rakah Kwadash. And yeah, man, America's looking more and more like the enemy to their allies, and as well as to those that are who they're naturally going up against right now. So yeah, Shalom.